Welcome to the Wonder Lab. Today, we are taking a journey like no other, a journey into the most intricate, mysterious, and quietly astonishing structure in the known universe, your brain. From the moment you were born, your brain has been at work shaping every thought, feeling, memory, and dream. It is the silent storyteller behind every experience you have ever had, and yet it remains profoundly elusive. How does this soft organ of flesh and cells, weighing less than 3 pounds, carry the spark of consciousness? How does it turn chemical reactions and electrical pulses into the warm glow of awareness that makes you you? As we move through this journey, we will explore the architecture of neurons, the rhythms of brain waves, the subtle symphony of chemical whispers that orchestrate your thoughts and actions. We will venture into the mysteries of perception, memory, creativity, and self-reflection. And perhaps most importantly, we will touch upon the question that has puzzled philosophers, scientists, and curious minds for centuries. What is consciousness? Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine a storm of 86 billion neurons, each sending tiny electrical whispers across hundreds of trillions of synapses. It is a storm that never sleeps, a storm that quietly shapes every aspect of your life, from the way you breathe to the way you dream, to the way you imagine worlds unseen. In this exploration, we will follow the brain's journey from the first sparks of life in infancy, through the bold creativity of youth, into the subtle wisdom of old age. We will see how it adapts, how it heals, and how fragile it truly is. We will examine the failures, the misfires, and the astonishing recoveries. And through it all, we will try to glimpse the shimmer of consciousness, that elusive glow that turns a living organ into a thinking, feeling, aware being. So take a deep breath and step with me into the labyrinth of your own mind. Let us watch, listen, and learn as the brain reveals itself in ways both familiar and utterly surprising. This is not a journey of speed, it is a journey of attention, of wonder, and of patient curiosity. And in the next hour we will see not just how the brain works, but how it carries the very essence of who you are. The human brain begins as a cluster of cells, small and unassuming, yet filled with immense potential. From the moment of conception, it sets into motion the processes that will eventually give rise to every thought, feeling, and action you will ever experience. Its first task is simple yet profound, to create order out of chaos. Tiny neurons sprout and branch, reaching out to one another, forming the beginnings of the complex networks that will one day carry your consciousness. Even in the earliest stages, the brain is already a hub of activity. Electrical impulses leap across tiny gaps called synapses. Chemical messengers travel between neurons, and circuits begin to form. These circuits are the first signs of specialization, the beginnings of the brain's astonishing ability to divide labor and yet work as a unified whole. The neurons are not random. They are building the infrastructure of perception, memory, and action, laying the foundations for a mind that will one day wonder about itself. As the brain develops in infancy, it grows at a staggering pace. Neurons form trillions of connections, far more than will eventually be retained. This overproduction is nature's way of giving the brain flexibility, allowing it to adapt to the world it encounters. Sensory experiences shape these connections, pruning those that are unused and strengthening those that are essential. Sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell are not just passive experiences. They are the sculptors of the developing brain. From this vast network of neurons, consciousness will one day emerge, though it is still far from obvious in these early days. For now, the brain functions like an orchestra tuning its instruments, each neuron playing its part, unaware that it will eventually contribute to a symphony of thought, awareness, and self-reflection. Every small movement, every coup, every shift of attention is a rehearsal for the intricate performance that will be life itself. Childhood is a period of immense neural growth, and it is also a period of curiosity and learning. The brain is absorbing languages, recognizing patterns, and building memory systems. It is constantly rewiring itself, shaping and reshaping networks to become more efficient. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and judgment, develops slowly, while sensory and motor regions mature faster, allowing children to interact with the world, explore and learn. During these years, consciousness begins to take form in a subtle, almost imperceptible way. The child experiences the world not just as raw sensory data, but as a sequence of events with meaning and context. Awareness rises from the interactions of countless neural circuits, each processing information locally yet contributing to a global network. It is as if the mind is beginning to whisper to itself, forming a faint chorus that will one day swell into full consciousness. As the brain matures into adolescence, this process intensifies. The prefrontal cortex continues to develop, allowing for more complex decision-making, impulse control, and the ability to anticipate the future. Creativity and risk-taking are hallmarks of this stage, as the brain balances the exuberance of new connections with the refining processes of pruning and specialization. The brain's energy consumption is at its peak, consuming more oxygen and glucose than at any other stage of life, fueling the intense activity of neurons, shaping identity, emotion and reasoning. Consciousness, though not fully understood, becomes more stable and coherent during this time. The global workspace of the brain, the integration of specialized circuits into a unified field of awareness, begins to operate with greater consistency. Thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are no longer scattered fragments. They are woven into a narrative that the adolescent mind can recognize as self. Memories accumulate, language becomes richer, and the awareness of time, of the past and future, deepens. Throughout adulthood, the brain reaches a balance between stability and flexibility. Neural circuits are refined, myelin sheaths are thickened for faster signal transmission, and networks become highly efficient. Yet the brain retains the capacity to learn, to adapt, and to reorganize in response to new experiences. Memory, reasoning, creativity, and emotional regulation all reflect the brain's delicate dance between specialization and integration. But the brain is not infallible. Throughout life, it faces challenges, injuries, diseases, and the slow wear of aging. Strokes, epilepsy, and neurodegenerative conditions remind us of its fragility. Yet, even in the face of damage, the brain's plasticity allows it to rewire and recover. Neurogenesis continues, cognitive reserve builds, and new pathways can compensate for those lost. Consciousness, the awareness that emerges from the interaction of billions of neurons, persists even as the landscape of the brain shifts and changes. And so, the story of the brain is also a story of resilience. It is the story of a system that evolves from a cluster of cells into the seat of consciousness, shaping experience, identity, and life itself. The neurons fire, the circuits spark, and the mind emerges, a reflection of the brain's infinite capacity for integration, adaptation, and self-reflection. This is the foundation upon which every thought, every feeling, and every act of awareness rests. And this is only the beginning. As we journey deeper into the brain, we begin to encounter the most elusive aspect of our existence, consciousness itself. What is it that allows us to experience the world, to reflect, to imagine, and to be aware of ourselves. Scientists have long sought to unravel this mystery, exploring the intricate mechanisms that give rise to subjective experience. One of the leading ideas is the global workspace theory. Imagine the brain as a vast city with countless specialized districts handling different tasks: vision, hearing, movement, memory. Each district processes information locally, performing its assigned functions, but consciousness arises when selected information is broadcast across the entire city, making it globally available to all districts. It is this integration, this sharing of information, that allows the brain to form a coherent experience, a unified self-aware of itself and its surroundings. In parallel, another theory known as integrated information theory proposes that consciousness is a measure of the system's ability to integrate information. It is not merely about processing vast amounts of data, but about how interconnected and unified this processing is. The brain's billions of neurons are not isolated. They fire in concert, forming patterns that cannot be reduced to the sum of their parts. Conscious experience emerges precisely from this irreducible complexity, the interplay of countless neural signals converging into a single, coherent field of awareness. Consider perception, for example. What you see is not just light hitting your retina. The signals are transmitted to the brain, where layers of processing decode shapes, colors, movement, and depth. But consciousness transforms these processed signals into experience. The redness of an apple, the warmth of sunlight, the familiar face of a friend. It is here that perception and awareness intertwine, creating the vivid reality that we inhabit moment by moment. Memory, too, plays a crucial role. Without memory, consciousness would be a fleeting sensation, disconnected from past experiences, and unable to anticipate the future. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep within the brain, organizes and stores memories, linking them to the present. It is through these connections that the mind can reflect, learn, and plan. Memories shape identity. They allow us to recognize ourselves as continuous beings, aware not only of now, but also of what we once were. Attention acts as the gatekeeper of consciousness. Our brain constantly receives an overwhelming flood of sensory input, yet only a fraction reaches conscious awareness. Selective attention determines which information is amplified and which is suppressed, directing the spotlight of consciousness onto what matters most. This filtering process is both automatic and deliberate, a dance between instinct and intention, shaped by survival, curiosity, and experience. Emotions are another integral component. They color our perceptions, influence decisions, and guide behavior. The amygdala, deeply embedded within the brain, detects threats, pleasures, and social cues, generating responses that are immediate yet integrated into conscious thought. Joy, fear, sadness, and excitement are not just reactions. They are central threads woven into the fabric of awareness, informing our understanding of the world and our place within it. Then there is self-awareness, perhaps the pinnacle of consciousness. To be aware of one's own thoughts, feelings, and existence is a profound capability, one that emerges from the coordinated activity of multiple brain networks, including the prefrontal cortex and parietal lobes. Mirror neurons contribute to this capacity, allowing us to simulate and understand the experiences of others. Through self-awareness, we not only perceive the world, but reflect upon ourselves within it, shaping our decisions, morals, and aspirations. Sleep and dreams provide a window into consciousness, revealing its dynamic and fluctuating nature. During REM sleep, the brain exhibits activity patterns similar to waking life, yet the content of experience is hallucinatory, surreal, and symbolic. Dreams suggest that consciousness is not merely reactive, but generative, capable of creating worlds from stored memories, emotions, and imaginative processes. They remind us that awareness is fluid, adaptable, and multifaceted. Consciousness is also deeply linked to the brain's rhythms. Electrical oscillations, from slow delta waves to fast gamma waves, coordinate the timing of neural activity across regions. These rhythms are the pulse of thought, synchronizing perception, memory, and decision-making. When disrupted, awareness can fragment, as in epilepsy or certain psychiatric conditions, illustrating how delicate and intricate the balance of consciousness truly is. Philosophers and scientists alike continue to debate whether consciousness is purely a product of the brain or if it points to something more. Regardless of the answer, it is clear that the brain provides the machinery, the architecture, and the processes necessary for conscious experience. The firing of neurons, the release of neurotransmitters, the oscillating networks all converge to create the phenomenon we call awareness. And as we explore this frontier, we are reminded of the brain's extraordinary capacity. It is capable of perceiving, remembering, imagining, and reflecting. It is capable of creativity, morality, and love. It is the seat of our identity, our thoughts, and our dreams. Consciousness is not a singular thing, but a dynamic, emergent property, arising from the interplay of countless elements within the brain, each contributing to the mosaic of experience that defines what it means to be human. In the next stages of our journey, we will explore the edges of consciousness, investigating altered states, the effects of meditation, and the mysteries of the unconscious mind. But for now, we have glimpsed the intricate machinery, the theories, and the phenomena that give rise to awareness. Part 2 has unraveled some of the secrets, yet countless questions remain, waiting to be explored in the labyrinth of the human brain. While the waking mind is the most familiar state of consciousness, the brain is capable of experiences that stretch far beyond the ordinary. Across history, humans have explored altered states through meditation, sensory deprivation, trance, or even chemical substances. These states reveal that consciousness is not fixed, but fluid, capable of transformations under specific conditions. Meditation offers one of the most profound insights into the plasticity of awareness. Practitioners report heightened clarity, deep focus, and a sense of unity with their environment. Neuroscientific studies reveal that meditation can alter neural connectivity, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and default mode network. These changes are associated with reduced mind wandering, improved emotional regulation, and even a restructuring of perception itself. The brain, in effect, learns to tune its attention and awareness, expanding the boundaries of conscious experience. Then, there are phenomena that challenge our understanding of life and consciousness, such as near-death experiences. People who have faced clinical death or extreme trauma often report vivid experiences, moving through tunnels of light, sensing a presence, or observing their own body from above. While skeptics attribute these to hypoxia or brain chemistry, neuroscientists are increasingly intrigued by the reproducible patterns in neural activity during these critical moments. Could consciousness, even momentarily, exist independent of the normal functioning of the brain? The question remains open, and each story adds a layer of mystery to the puzzle. Psychedelics, too, offer a window into the brain's capacity for altered perception. Compounds like psilocybin or LSD temporarily reorganize neural networks, increasing connectivity between regions that typically operate independently. This can result in synesthesia, ego dissolution, and a sense of profound unity with the cosmos. Researchers are studying these substances not merely for their hallucinogenic effects, but for their potential to treat mental health conditions, reshape perception, and expand our understanding of the neural basis of consciousness. The brain, under these influences, demonstrates both its flexibility and its fragility, capable of extraordinary experiences when typical constraints are lifted. Sleep, dreams, and lucid dreaming further illustrate the dynamic spectrum of consciousness. In lucid dreams, the dreamer becomes aware of the dream state, gaining the ability to direct the narrative. Brain imaging shows activation in areas responsible for self-reflection and decision-making, suggesting that even within dreams, the brain can maintain a form of meta-awareness. These phenomena challenge the simple distinction between waking and sleeping consciousness, showing that awareness is a continuum rather than a binary state. But what about artificial intelligence? Can machines ever achieve consciousness? AI systems can simulate aspects of cognition, problem-solving, learning, pattern recognition. Yet they lack subjective experience, what philosophers call qualia. No neural network, however complex, can yet replicate the felt experience of seeing a color, tasting a fruit, or feeling joy. This comparison underscores the uniqueness of biological consciousness and highlights the intricate, interconnected networks that make the human brain so singular. Neurological disorders provide another lens into the mystery. Patients with split brain surgery, where the corpus callosum connecting the two hemispheres is severed, exhibit astonishing behaviors. Each hemisphere appears to have its own independent awareness. Similarly, individuals with blind sight can respond to visual stimuli without conscious perception, navigating obstacles they cannot see. These cases illuminate the modularity of the brain and suggest that consciousness is not a single unified stream, but an emergent property of interacting networks. Time perception is also shaped by the brain. Under stress, during high-intensity experiences, or in altered states, subjective time can stretch or contract. Neural mechanisms in the parietal cortex and basal ganglia modulate this perception, reflecting the intricate relationship between awareness and the brain's internal clocks. What we perceive as now is a constantly reconstructed moment, a delicate orchestration of sensory input, memory, and anticipation. Emotional and social consciousness further extend the tapestry. Empathy, moral reasoning, and the experience of love arise from complex interactions between limbic structures, mirror neurons, and higher cortical regions. These capacities reveal that consciousness is not solely an individual phenomenon. It is inherently relational, shaped by interactions with other minds and the environment. The brain constructs not only self-awareness, but also social awareness, integrating personal experience with collective reality. Finally, consciousness is resilient yet fragile. Traumatic brain injury, neurodegeneration, or chemical imbalances can profoundly alter awareness, changing personality, perception, or memory. These effects underscore the dependence of consciousness on the brain's precise architecture and delicate chemical balance. Every thought, emotion, and perception emerges from the orchestrated firing of billions of neurons, a network so complex that even slight disturbances can reshape the entire conscious experience. In this part of our journey, we have traversed altered states, meditation, near-death phenomena, psychedelics, artificial intelligence, neurological oddities, and the interplay of time and social consciousness. The human brain proves to be not just a processor of information, but a dynamic, adaptable, and profoundly mysterious organ capable of generating the spectrum of conscious experience. Yet, despite centuries of study, the ultimate nature of consciousness remains just beyond our grasp, beckoning us to explore further. In Part 4, we will dive into the frontiers of neuroscience and consciousness research, examining the cutting-edge technologies that allow scientists to observe, manipulate, and even simulate the mind. We will investigate how understanding consciousness could transform medicine, philosophy, and our conception of what it means to be human. As we continue our journey into the human brain, we enter a frontier where science meets the edge of imagination. Cutting-edge neuroscience is no longer confined to observing behavior or studying post-mortem brains. Today, scientists can map, manipulate, and even simulate neural activity, unlocking insights that were once thought impossible. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, has revolutionized our understanding of the living brain. By tracking blood flow and oxygenation in real time, researchers can observe which regions are active during thought, emotion, or perception. Each flicker of neural activity paints a dynamic map of consciousness, revealing how interconnected networks generate complex behaviors. Cognitive functions once considered mysterious, the capacity for empathy, moral reasoning, or abstract thought, can now be traced to precise patterns of neural communication. Beyond observation, scientists have developed methods to influence brain activity directly. Transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, allows targeted modulation of cortical regions, temporarily enhancing or inhibiting specific functions. Patients with depression, for instance, have experienced significant improvements after TMS treatment, highlighting the profound connection between neural activity and subjective experience. In this way, consciousness is not only observed, it can be guided, shaped, and in certain circumstances, restored. Advances in brain-computer interfaces are pushing the boundaries even further. By decoding neural signals, these technologies allow humans to control robotic limbs, communicate through thought alone, or even interact with virtual environments. Neural implants, initially developed for medical rehabilitation, are now being explored for cognitive enhancement, memory augmentation, and even immersive experiences that blend the real and virtual. Here, the brain becomes both a biological organ and a technological interface, bridging mind and machine in ways that challenge our understanding of consciousness. Artificial intelligence intersects with neuroscience in fascinating ways. Deep learning algorithms can model neural networks, simulate perception, and even predict cognitive behavior. These models allow researchers to test hypotheses about consciousness, memory, and learning in silico within computational frameworks that mirror the brain's architecture. While AI lacks subjective experience, it provides a window into the principles that may underlie conscious awareness, offering insights that biology alone cannot deliver. Emerging research in connectomics, the mapping of every neuron and synapse in the brain, promises an unprecedented view of neural architecture. By charting these networks in exquisite detail, scientists hope to understand how consciousness emerges from the coordinated activity of billions of neurons. Each connection, each firing pattern, contributes to the intricate symphony that produces thought, perception, and self-awareness. Neuroplasticity reminds us that the brain is not static. Experiences, learning, trauma, and environment continuously reshape its structure and function. From the adaptive rewiring after injury to the enhancement of cognitive skills through training, the brain demonstrates remarkable flexibility. Modern interventions aim to harness this plasticity, using targeted exercises, neurofeedback, or pharmacological support to optimize function, recover lost abilities, and even expand the limits of cognition. The ethical frontier is equally complex. As we gain the ability to manipulate consciousness, we face profound questions. What does it mean to enhance memory, perception, or emotion? Should we alter the brain to create superconscious individuals or to erase traumatic memories? The potential for misuse is real, yet so is the promise of alleviating suffering, expanding awareness, and deepening our understanding of the mind. Transhumanist visions stretch these possibilities even further. Imagine a future where consciousness can be uploaded, shared, or preserved beyond the biological body. While still largely theoretical, these ideas challenge our deepest assumptions about identity, mortality, and the nature of awareness itself. The line between human and machine, mind and matter, becomes increasingly blurred. Neuroscience also explores the mysteries of collective consciousness. Social networks, shared cognition, and cultural evolution suggest that consciousness is not merely an individual phenomenon. Our brains are shaped by interaction, cooperation, and collective learning, implying that the evolution of awareness is intertwined with the evolution of society itself. In this part of our journey, we have witnessed the frontiers of consciousness, from real-time brain mapping, neural modulation, and brain-computer interfaces, to AI models, neuroplasticity, and ethical dilemmas at the edge of human experience. The human brain is revealed as a dynamic, adaptive, and increasingly accessible universe, offering possibilities that challenge the limits of imagination. In Part 5, we will explore the mysteries of memory, identity, and the sense of self, how the brain constructs the narrative of who we are, and how fragile and malleable that story can be. We will examine cases of amnesia, split brain phenomena, and cutting-edge research into memory restoration, highlighting the brain's remarkable capacity to generate and preserve consciousness. Even in its ordinary day-to-day operation, the brain walks a delicate line. Billions of neurons fire in precise patterns, orchestrating every thought, movement, and memory. Yet all it takes is a small disruption, a clot, a burst vessel, a surge of electrical activity to change that harmony instantly. Conditions like epilepsy showcase the brain's raw unpredictability, where bursts of synchronized firing sweep across circuits, producing seizures that range from subtle lapses of awareness to intense convulsions. Despite their suddenness, the alpha brain often adapts, with medications calming overactive regions, surgeries removing localized sources, and rehabilitation helping neural networks reroute their functions. Strokes, while quieter in onset, are equally profound. Deprived of oxygen, neurons can die within minutes, affecting speech, movement, vision, or memory, depending on the affected region. Yet the brain's plasticity allows surviving neurons to reorganize, building alternative pathways and sometimes restoring lost functions. The pace of recovery may be slow, but the capacity for adaptation is remarkable, revealing a resilience embedded deeply within its networks. Some disruptions are insidious and slow, like Alzheimer's disease. Protein clumps and tangled fibers form, gradually silencing communication between neurons, especially in memory-critical areas like the hippocampus. Early signs are subtle: misplaced objects, forgotten names, fleeting disorientation. Over time, networks deteriorate and memory fades, yet older, well-established memories can linger, music and familiar routines can remain vivid, and moments of clarity persist. This uneven fading shows that even in decline, the brain holds on to fragments of experience, revealing a layered resilience. Throughout life, the brain's fragility and adaptability coexist. Each change, whether sudden or gradual, underscores the importance of nurturing the organ, physical activity to boost circulation, mental stimulation to reinforce connections, social engagement to keep emotional and cognitive circuits active, adequate sleep for memory consolidation, and balanced nutrition to maintain vessel and neuronal health. Even small moments, a conversation, a shared laugh, a quiet empathetic gesture, stimulate the brain in ways that preserve its subtle networks. Beyond acute or chronic conditions, the brain's aging is a story of graceful transformation. Its processing speed may decline and new memory formation may slow, but accumulated knowledge deepens. Creativity shifts toward synthesis, and emotional regulation often improves. Connections within each hemisphere may loosen, yet communication between hemispheres can strengthen, allowing older minds to integrate broader patterns. Experience becomes a scaffold, supporting reasoning and perspective even as raw capacity diminishes. The mind moves from sprinting to gliding, from rapid novelty to weaving complexity, carrying a lifetime of stories within its intricate networks. At the same time, even young brains are fragile in their own way. Neural circuits are constantly forming, pruning, and refining, and development is a careful balance of overgrowth and elimination. The prefrontal cortex, crucial for judgment, planning, and impulse control, matures late, making adolescence a period of both extraordinary creativity and untested risk. Learning, memory formation, and skill acquisition are intertwined with structural changes that must be nurtured, guided, and supported. Resilience is not merely recovery from injury or disease. It is the ongoing capacity to adapt, to build new connections, to reorganize pathways as experiences accumulate. Neurogenesis continues in adulthood, particularly in the hippocampus, generating new neurons that integrate into existing networks, subtly supporting memory and learning. Cognitive reserve, built through mental activity, social interaction, and healthy habits, provides a buffer against decline, allowing function to remain despite gradual structural changes. Even amidst misfires, epileptic storms, strokes, neurodegenerative disease, the brain continues to attempt repair. It is a living network capable of astonishing adaptation, and it relies on the interplay of its vast circuits to maintain coherence. Each neuron is part of a delicate symphony, firing in time, adjusting to disruptions, and weaving together sensation, thought, memory, and action. This ongoing dance, often invisible to the conscious mind, underlies every experience of being. Understanding the fragility and resilience of the brain is not only a matter of science, it is a lesson in humility and care. The same organ that can misfire in dramatic, sometimes devastating ways can also reorganize, compensate, and sustain life in remarkable ways. Every memory recalled, every thought formed, every movement executed is a testament to its stability, its adaptability, and its persistent effort to maintain the continuity of consciousness. Emotions are not fleeting experiences. They are deeply rooted patterns of neural activity, emerging from intricate circuits that span the cortex, limbic system, and brainstem. The amygdala, small yet potent, acts as an emotional sentinel, scanning each sensory input for potential threats or rewards. It can trigger a cascade of physiological changes, accelerated heartbeat, heightened alertness, hormonal surges, before the conscious mind even registers the event. Fear, anger, joy, and sadness are not just feelings. They are responses meticulously coded by neurons and synapses, shaped by evolution to ensure survival and social cohesion. Emotional processing extends far beyond the amygdala. The prefrontal cortex evaluates context, tempers impulsive reactions, and shapes long-term emotional responses. Damage to this area can lead to disinhibition, impulsivity, or flattened affect, revealing the delicate balance between raw emotional impulses and rational regulation. Meanwhile, the hippocampus connects emotion with memory, anchoring experiences within time and place, creating narratives that guide future decisions. Hormones act as chemical messengers that amplify or modulate emotion. Cortisol, released during stress, heightens alertness, but can, over time, impair memory and neuronal health. Dopamine and serotonin influence mood, motivation, and reward, subtly adjusting the brain's baseline emotional state. These chemical undercurrents illustrate that emotions are both electrical and chemical phenomena, inseparable from the physical structures generating them. Social emotions, empathy, compassion, shame, pride require additional networks. Mirror neurons in the premotor cortex and parietal lobes fire when observing others, enabling understanding and imitation. The anterior cingulate cortex monitors conflicts, both internal and social, generating feelings of guilt or discomfort when behaviors diverge from expectations. Love, attachment, and trust emerge from the interplay of oxytocin, vasopressin, and complex cortical circuits, revealing that human connection is built upon a delicate chemical and structural foundation. Emotions are not static. They evolve, adapt, and integrate with cognition. Mood disorders illustrate the fragility of this system. Depression can result from altered neurotransmitter levels, overactive amygdala, and underactive prefrontal regions, producing persistent sadness, reduced motivation, and cognitive slowing. Anxiety disorders amplify threat perception, exaggerating responses that would otherwise be adaptive, leading to hypervigilance and avoidance behaviors. These conditions demonstrate how finely tuned emotional circuits are and how easily they can tip into imbalance. Yet the brain also demonstrates remarkable capacity for emotional resilience. Psychotherapy, mindfulness, meditation, and social support can rewire circuits, strengthen regulatory regions, and enhance coping strategies. Neuroplasticity allows the prefrontal cortex to regain control over reactive limbic regions, teaching the brain to respond rather than merely react. Even in chronic conditions, interventions can foster meaningful improvements, underscoring the malleability of emotional networks. Emotions are intimately tied to decision-making. The somatic marker hypothesis suggests that bodily signals, generated by emotional processing, guide choices in complex or uncertain situations. Damage to emotion-regulating regions can lead to poor decisions despite intact intellect, demonstrating that reasoning divorced from emotion is often insufficient. In essence, feelings are not distractions from rationality. They are foundational to it, guiding judgment, risk assessment, and social interaction. Memory and emotion are intertwined. Strong emotional experiences, whether positive or negative, enhance memory consolidation through interactions between the amygdala and hippocampus. Traumatic events encoded vividly can persist for decades, shaping behavior and identity. Conversely, joyful experiences can create enduring positive associations, influencing decisions, relationships, and life trajectory. The brain's ability to attach emotional weight to memories ensures that lessons, warnings, and joys are not easily forgotten. Cultural and personal factors further modulate emotional experiences. Neural circuits respond not only to raw stimuli, but also to meaning, context, and learned expectations. The same event may elicit exhilaration in one individual and fear in another, reflecting both innate neural mechanisms and acquired interpretations. Emotions are thus a dialogue between biology and experience, encoded in the dynamic networks of the brain, even subtle. Subconscious emotions, gut feelings, hunches, intuitions originate from neural activity outside conscious awareness, influencing behavior and thought. These signals may arise from pattern recognition, prior learning, or emotional residue, guiding decision-making without overt reasoning. The conscious mind often rationalizes these impulses afterward, unaware of the extensive processing that occurred below awareness. Ultimately, emotions reveal that the brain is more than a thinking machine. It is an organ of feeling, memory, connection, and adaptation. It interprets the world not merely as a sequence of events, but as a tapestry of significance, attachment, and motivation. Each laugh, tear, fear, or thrill is a testament to neural circuits orchestrating life in real time, highlighting both the fragility and resilience inherent in the human experience. The human brain is a repository of experiences, a dynamic archive constantly recording, reorganizing, and refining information. Memory is not a single entity, but a constellation of systems, each specialized for different types of knowledge. Declarative memory allows the conscious recollection of facts and events, while procedural memory governs skills and habits, often operating beneath awareness. The hippocampus, entorhinal cortex, and associated medial temporal lobe structures orchestrate the encoding and retrieval of episodic memories, linking temporal and spatial context with emotional significance. Learning is the process through which the brain reshapes itself, forging new synapses, strengthening existing connections, and pruning redundant pathways. Long-term potentiation, a cellular mechanism of learning, enhances synaptic efficacy, allowing repeated patterns of activity to solidify into persistent memory traces. Neuroplasticity ensures that even after injury or degeneration, the brain can adapt, reassigning functions to undamaged regions and preserving cognitive continuity. Intelligence, though elusive to define, emerges from the brain's capacity to acquire knowledge, reason, solve problems, and adapt to new environments. Prefrontal regions coordinate complex planning, abstract thought, and foresight, integrating inputs from sensory cortices, limbic structures, and association areas. Problem-solving involves not only logic but pattern recognition, intuition, and experience, highlighting that intelligence is both computational and experiential. Memory is deeply entwined with emotion, attention, and motivation. The amygdala modulates the salience of experiences, ensuring that emotionally charged events are prioritized for storage. Attention filters sensory input, focusing neural resources on relevant stimuli, while motivation directs learning toward meaningful goals. This interplay explains why mundane facts often fade, while moments of triumph, fear, or love are indelibly imprinted. Learning is not purely passive. It is an active reconstruction. The brain interprets information in context, fills gaps, and connects new knowledge to existing frameworks. Schemas, mental models of the world, shape perception, memory, and reasoning, illustrating that understanding is always filtered through prior experience. Misremembering is not a flaw, but a reflection of the brain's tendency to integrate new information coherently. Sometimes at the expense of factual accuracy, consolidation transforms fragile memories into durable representations. Sleep, particularly slow-wave and REM stages, plays a critical role in this process, stabilizing synapses, replaying neural patterns, and integrating experiences into long-term storage. During sleep, the hippocampus communicates with the cortex, transferring and reorganizing memories while pruning irrelevant details. Without adequate sleep, learning is impaired. Emotional regulation falters and cognitive performance declines, highlighting the intimate connection between memory, rest, and brain function. Intelligence is also reflected in flexibility, the ability to adapt to novel situations. Cognitive flexibility relies on the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, and parietal regions, enabling strategy shifts, creative problem-solving, and decision-making under uncertainty. Memory provides the raw material, but intelligence extracts patterns, anticipates consequences, and orchestrates behavior in complex environments. Social learning is a critical dimension of intelligence. Humans acquire knowledge not only through direct experience, but also by observing others, imitating behavior, and internalizing cultural norms. Mirror neuron networks facilitate understanding and empathy, enabling us to model actions and intentions. Language amplifies this process, allowing abstract concepts, cumulative knowledge, and collective wisdom to transcend individual experience. The brain's capacity for metacognition, thinking about thinking, illustrates the pinnacle of intelligence. Self-reflection, error monitoring, and strategic planning require coordination across widespread networks, including dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, posterior parietal cortex, and default mode regions. Metacognition allows us to evaluate our decisions, recognize biases, and refine learning strategies, a unique hallmark of human cognitive sophistication. Memory and intelligence are not immutable. Lifelong learning stimulates neurogenesis in the hippocampus, strengthens cortical connections, and maintains cognitive reserve. Enriched environments, intellectual engagement, and novel challenges enhance brain function, delay decline, and foster adaptive intelligence. Conversely, deprivation, stress, or chronic inactivity can impair memory, reduce plasticity, and compromise problem-solving abilities. Finally, the interplay between memory, learning, and intelligence illustrates the brain as a living library, constantly writing, editing, and interpreting the story of our lives. Each thought, each skill, each insight is both a product and a process, a manifestation of neurons in dialogue, circuits in synchronization, and networks in perpetual adaptation. Intelligence is not merely the accumulation of facts, but the orchestration of experience, creativity, and reasoning into meaningful adaptive behavior. Emotions are not mere reactions. They are complex neurobiological signals that guide perception, memory, and behavior. The limbic system, comprising the amygdala, hippocampus, hypothalamus, and cingulate cortex, plays a central role in emotional processing. The amygdala evaluates environmental stimuli for threat or reward, rapidly generating responses that influence attention, learning, and action. The hippocampus contextualizes emotional events, allowing experiences to be linked with time and place, while the prefrontal cortex modulates emotional expression, decision-making, and social behavior. Decision-making is deeply intertwined with emotion. The brain does not operate as a purely logical machine. Feelings, intuitions, and biases shape choices as much as rational calculations. Ventromedial and orbitofrontal cortices integrate reward values, potential risks, and social consequences to guide behavior. Even in seemingly rational decisions, the interplay of emotion and cognition determines outcomes. Damage to these areas often leads to choices that are technically rational but socially inappropriate or personally harmful, illustrating the indispensable role of emotions in practical intelligence. The social brain is a network of regions that enable humans to understand, predict, and influence the behavior of others. Theory of mind, the capacity to infer intentions, beliefs, and desires, relies on the temporal parietal junction, medial prefrontal cortex, and superior temporal sulcus. Empathy, the ability to resonate with others' emotions, engages mirror neuron systems and limbic regions, facilitating prosocial behavior, cooperation, and cultural learning. Humans are inherently social beings. Relationships, alliances, and communication shape survival, identity, and cognition. Emotional memory is particularly potent. Experiences charged with strong affect are encoded more robustly, and retrieval is more vivid. Stress hormones like cortisol modulate memory consolidation, sometimes enhancing and sometimes impairing recall depending on context and intensity. The interplay of attention, salience, and arousal ensures that critical, survival-relevant information is prioritized, while trivial details may fade. Reflecting the brain's adaptive efficiency, decision-making is influenced by heuristics and biases, mental shortcuts that allow rapid judgments but can introduce errors. The brain often relies on pattern recognition, prior experience, and emotional cues rather than exhaustive computation. While this enables swift responses in dynamic environments, it also explains why humans can be predictably irrational, susceptible to cognitive illusions, and influenced by social or cultural pressures. The prefrontal cortex is the executive hub, coordinating emotion, memory, and reasoning to produce goal-directed behavior. It evaluates competing options, anticipates consequences, and suppresses impulsive actions when necessary. Complex decision-making often involves balancing short-term desires with long-term goals, immediate rewards with delayed gratification, highlighting the integration of cognitive and emotional processes. Social contexts amplify the complexity of decision-making. Humans continuously monitor the behavior of others, adapt strategies, and adjust communication to optimize cooperation or competition. Social learning allows knowledge to propagate beyond direct experience. Observing the successes and failures of others shapes our choices, reducing risk and enhancing adaptability. Culture, norms, and language further structure decision-making, embedding individuals in a network of shared knowledge, expectations, and values. Emotions also drive motivation and creativity. Dopamine circuits in the basal ganglia reward curiosity, exploration, and goal attainment, reinforcing behaviors that enhance survival and learning. Positive affect broadens attention, encourages novel connections, and promotes cognitive flexibility, whereas negative affect can narrow focus, trigger caution, and enhance analytical precision. The balance between these states enables humans to navigate complex environments, combining risk assessment with innovation. The social brain underlies morality, justice, and cooperation. Humans evaluate fairness, anticipate social repercussions, and align actions with communal norms. Neuroimaging studies reveal that moral judgments involve both effective responses in the amygdala and rational evaluation in the prefrontal cortex, demonstrating the integration of emotion and reason in ethical behavior. The capacity to internalize rules, empathize with others, and act altruistically ensures societal cohesion and collective progress. Finally, the dynamic interplay of emotion, decision-making, and social cognition exemplifies the brain's adaptive power. Emotional signals guide attention and memory, reasoning shapes choices, and social networks influence behavior and learning. The brain is both individual and collective, a personal archive of experience intertwined with the cultural, social, and emotional fabric that defines humanity. Understanding this interplay illuminates not only how we think, feel, and decide, but also why human behavior is as richly varied and profoundly interconnected as the neural networks that generate it. Memory is the backbone of consciousness. The brain constructs our sense of identity, continuity, and understanding of the world by encoding, storing, and retrieving experiences. The hippocampus is central to forming declarative memories, facts, events, and spatial information, while the neocortex supports long-term storage and semantic knowledge. Procedural memory, governing skills and habits, depends on the basal ganglia and cerebellum, allowing us to perform complex actions without conscious effort. The interaction between these systems creates a seamless integration of knowledge, experience, and action. Learning is an ongoing adaptation to the environment. Synaptic plasticity, the strengthening or weakening of connections between neurons, forms the neural substrate of memory. Long-term potentiation enhances signal transmission, creating lasting pathways that encode repeated experiences. Neurotransmitters such as glutamate and dopamine modulate learning by signaling novelty, reward, and salience. Attention, repetition, and emotional significance amplify retention, revealing that learning is not just passive absorption, but active engagement with the world. The continuum of consciousness spans waking, dreaming, and altered states. The prefrontal cortex, thalamus, and default mode network maintain self-awareness and reflection during wakefulness. During sleep, especially REM stages, memory consolidation, emotional processing, and creative problem-solving occur, illustrating that unconscious activity profoundly influences conscious experience. Dreams, while often surreal, are reflections of cognitive integration, emotional processing, and neural rehearsal, demonstrating that consciousness is a spectrum rather than a binary state. Memory is reconstructive, not photographic. Retrieval involves the reactivation of neural networks, subject to modification and distortion. Every recollection subtly reshapes the memory, incorporating present context, beliefs, and expectations. This malleability enables flexibility, learning from past mistakes, and imagination, but also explains false memories and cognitive biases. The brain balances stability and adaptability, preserving core knowledge while allowing updates and reinterpretations. Learning extends beyond individual experience through social and cultural transmission. Language, observation, imitation, and storytelling enable humans to inherit knowledge accumulated over generations. Mirror neurons in the premotor and parietal cortices facilitate understanding and replication of others' actions, enhancing skill acquisition and empathy. Cultural learning transforms neural development, illustrating that memory and cognition are deeply embedded in a social context. The relationship between memory, learning, and consciousness is bidirectional. Conscious attention influences what is encoded, while existing memories shape perception, decision-making, and self-awareness. Metacognition, the ability to reflect on one's own thoughts, relies on interactions between the prefrontal cortex and posterior parietal regions, allowing humans to plan, evaluate, and modify behavior. Consciousness emerges as a dynamic process, integrating sensory input, memory, emotion, and reasoning into coherent experience. Neurological disorders illuminate the fragility and resilience of memory systems. Alzheimer's disease, amnesia, and other cognitive impairments reveal the consequences of hippocampal and cortical damage, highlighting the intricate network dependencies that sustain learning and awareness. Yet, even in the presence of deficits, the brain often finds compensatory pathways, underscoring its plasticity and adaptive potential. Memory and learning are influenced by sleep, nutrition, stress, and environment. Sleep consolidates memories and supports synaptic homeostasis. Stress hormones can enhance memory of emotionally significant events, but impair the recall of neutral details. Enriched environments, novel experiences, and social interaction stimulate neurogenesis and synaptic remodeling, optimizing learning and cognitive flexibility. The brain continuously reshapes itself in response to experience, demonstrating lifelong plasticity. The continuum of consciousness also encompasses altered states induced by meditation, sensory deprivation, or psychoactive substances. These states reveal the brain's capacity for flexible perception, introspection, and awareness modulation. Changes in connectivity, oscillatory patterns, and neurotransmitter activity during these states offer insights into the fundamental neural mechanisms underlying consciousness and the subjective sense of self. Ultimately, memory, learning, and consciousness are interwoven in a complex, dynamic tapestry. Experiences shape neural pathways. Attention and emotion modulate retention. Social and cultural interaction expand knowledge. And self-awareness allows reflection, planning, and adaptation. The human brain is not merely a processor of information. It is an evolving, living system that constructs reality, integrates experience, and enables the continuous emergence of conscious life. The human brain is not static. It evolves both biologically and technologically. Neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and neuroengineering are converging to deepen our understanding of consciousness and the potential to enhance it. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, allow direct communication between neurons and machines, enabling people to control prosthetics, communicate without speech, and potentially augment cognitive abilities. These advances raise profound questions. Can consciousness itself be augmented, extended, or even transferred? The future of learning and memory may be transformed by technology. Neurostimulation techniques such as transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, and transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS, show promise in enhancing memory, attention, and problem-solving skills. Pharmacological interventions targeting neurotransmitter systems could improve focus and cognition. However, these interventions require careful consideration of ethical, social, and psychological implications, balancing potential benefits against risks of dependency, inequality, or unintended cognitive alterations. Artificial intelligence and machine learning mirror human cognitive processes in remarkable ways. Neural networks, inspired by brain architecture, demonstrate pattern recognition, decision-making, and learning capabilities. These systems allow us to explore parallels between artificial and biological intelligence, shedding light on the mechanisms that underpin learning, abstraction, and problem-solving. Understanding these connections may eventually help decode aspects of consciousness itself. Neuroethics emerges as a critical discipline in the exploration of consciousness. Questions of identity, free will, and moral responsibility become central when technology can manipulate perception, memory, or decision-making. The line between human and machine may blur, prompting reconsideration of what it means to experience, to know, and to be conscious. Ensuring equitable access and preserving human dignity remain paramount in this rapidly evolving landscape. The integration of genetics and epigenetics provides insight into individual differences in cognition and consciousness. Genetic variations influence memory capacity, learning speed, and susceptibility to neurological disorders, while environmental factors and experience modify gene expression. Personalized neuroscience, informed by these insights, may one day allow interventions tailored to individual neural profiles, enhancing cognitive resilience and mental health. Exploration of altered states continues to reveal the flexibility of consciousness. Meditation, sensory immersion, and controlled psychedelic experiences illuminate neural correlates of attention, self-perception, and emotional regulation. These states provide a window into the brain's capacity for plasticity, adaptation, and insight, offering not only therapeutic potential, but also deeper philosophical understanding of subjective experience. The human brain also interacts dynamically with the environment and society. Collective intelligence emerges as humans share knowledge, innovate, and collaborate. Social networks, education systems, and cultural institutions shape neural development, cognition, and shared consciousness. The brain's evolution is therefore not merely biological, it is deeply intertwined with social and technological ecosystems. As we look forward, the concept of consciousness itself may expand. Integration with technology, augmented memory, and learning, and deeper understanding of neural mechanisms could redefine human potential. Ethical foresight will be essential to guide these developments, ensuring that advancements enhance well-being without compromising autonomy, empathy, or humanity. Ultimately, the human brain is both a product and a creator of consciousness. It encodes the past, interprets the present, and anticipates the future. Through the interplay of neurons, networks, memory, and learning, consciousness emerges as an adaptive, evolving phenomenon. The future holds vast potential, not only to understand the mind, but to expand the horizons of experience, thought, and existence itself. In reflecting on the journey through the brain's mysteries, one sees that the mind is not a fixed structure, but a dynamic process. Every perception, every memory, and every thought contributes to the continuous construction of reality. The human brain, in its complexity and adaptability, exemplifies nature's most intricate and profound creation, a system capable of exploring itself, the universe, and the very nature of consciousness. The journey through the human brain reveals a landscape of astonishing complexity and elegance. From the firing of individual neurons to the orchestration of vast networks, the brain is both a biological marvel and the seat of consciousness itself. Every thought, emotion, and memory emerges from this intricate web, shaping our perceptions and our sense of self. Consciousness, though deeply familiar, remains one of the greatest mysteries. It is the lens through which we experience reality, the stage upon which life unfolds, and the spark that allows reflection, imagination, and creativity. Each insight into its workings opens new questions, reminding us that the more we learn, the more we recognize the vastness of the unknown. Our brains are shaped not only by biology, but by experiences, learning, and interactions with the world. They adapt, evolve, and respond to challenges, demonstrating plasticity that enables growth, recovery, and innovation. Technology, neuroscience, and education hold the promise of enhancing these capabilities, yet they also demand careful consideration of ethical and societal implications. Looking forward, The future of consciousness is intertwined with the future of humanity. How we explore, augment, and protect the mind will define not only our individual potential, but also the collective path of civilization. The brain teaches us that knowledge and curiosity are limitless. Our capacity to understand ourselves is bound only by the depth of our exploration. Ultimately, the human brain is more than an organ. It is the essence of experience, the foundation of identity, and the source of endless wonder. In understanding it, we come closer not only to comprehending consciousness, but to appreciating the profound beauty of life itself. The story of the brain is ongoing. Every discovery, every question, and every moment of insight adds to the ever-expanding map of human understanding. And in this journey, one truth remains clear. The human brain, in all its complexity and mystery, is the most remarkable frontier we have ever known. As we conclude this journey into the depths of the human brain, remember that every thought, every memory, and every spark of consciousness arises from a network more intricate than anything we can fully imagine. The brain is not merely a collection of neurons and synapses. It is the stage on which your life unfolds, the silent storyteller behind every moment, and the keeper of your sense of self. Take a moment to appreciate the quiet brilliance within you, the way your mind adapts, learns, and reflects. In understanding the brain, we glimpse not only the machinery of thought, but the very essence of experience, the delicate glow that makes life meaningful. Every discovery reminds us that the more we learn, the more there is to wonder at, and that the journey of curiosity is endless. So, wherever you are, take care of this remarkable organ. Nurture your thoughts, challenge your mind, and continue exploring the world with awe and imagination. For within your brain lies not only your past and present, but the limitless potential of your future. This has been the Wonder Lab. Keep wondering, keep exploring, and let curiosity be your guide.